Hey, welcome back to another edition of Everything Football 62. I'm your host, Jonathan Big Tex Johnson, a.k.a. Uncle Tex, a.k.a. Professor Tex. Before we get started, y'all smash that like button, subscribe to the page, share with a friend. Got some questions, concerns, or anything like that, just hit me up down below, man, and we can go talk about it. I'm always down for some constructive criticism. It's all good. I'm not perfect or nothing like that. We try to be, but you know how that goes. Human error is always hanging around there somewhere. You know what I'm saying? So this is going to be a show that I'm going to be doing a lot of because we're on the talk of the finalists and all this kind of stuff like that for the people that's going to be coming finalists, quarterfinalists, or whatever of the Pro Football Hall of Fame. And I've told y'all guys how I'm real. It was a time I thought when right behind baseball, football was, and who they put in the Hall of Fame, and it was real picky, which well as they should be for these people to sit up there and get these gold jackets and these busts and stuff like that in the Hall of Fame. It has fell on hard times as far as I'm concerned. Just gonna be putting guys in willy nilly, and I'm not in for willy nilly. Like I always go back to what Deion said. He said, "Hey man, you got guys that should Hall of Fame, and then you have Hall of Game. You got a specific part where you should put guys who completely change the game, revolutionize the game. They should be up there and then the Hall of Fame. But my thing is, if you didn't do anything like that to begin with, if you wasn't that bad mother sucker and whatnot, then it shouldn't be no in between. Either you're in it or you're not. You know what I'm saying? I'll give you first ballot, second ballot, third ballot. That's fine and dandy. But no, it should be just the first ballot Hall of Famer, period. You know what I'm saying? But that's neither here nor there. Or at least I'll say third ballot because people want to play games with people like they did with T.O. But I've already talked about that. This one's basically, I'm going to be doing shows on this, different Mount Rushmores of all the different positions of who I think is Mount Rushmores at the top of their positions. So this is a little something I'm going to be doing. And I will get back by the 9th week. I'll start probably picking, because football is about to get real here in the next 2 weeks. You are who you are, and we're going to see what you're going to do at that particular time. Right now, we're going to concentrate on the ultimate weapon, Randall Cunnigham. Randall Cunnigham was a joy to watch. He had it. He was doing things that guys are doing now. He was doing things back there in that of the latter part of the 80s, going into the early 90s. Most of the part, 87, 88, 89, 90, different times like that. And Cunnigham was a joy to watch. He was that of the ultimate weapon. When they put this up there, it's almost like they jinxed him and whatnot. And I'll tell you why. And I'll explain to you the reason why I don't think that Randall will get into the Hall of Fame, why he shouldn't, because he has missing years. And we'll go over the stats and whatnot because, like I tell you guys, numbers don't lie and get emotional. People do. Okay? Or how come and why that he's not up there. A lot of fanboys and whatnot and stuff like that. They Philly fans or whatever like that. Let's just deal with the numbers and whatnot. So let's go ahead and do this. Let's go to Randall Cunnigham. Minimum of 10 starts. Now, Randall started being quote-unquote Randall Cunnigham a little bit and started really raising eyebrows on everybody at age 24 in 1987, where he went 75 when he took over from, I think, Ron Jaworski. From there, between 87 and I want to say 92, Randall would go 55 and 27 and 3 Pro Bowls. Always basically getting knocked out in the first round for the most part. He won some games, did some great things. His year that where you see quarterbacks doing this like a Lamar Jackson and whatnot and stuff like that on a regular, even down to guys like Mike Vick and stuff like that, went 10-6, threw for 3,466 yards, 30 touchdowns, and he rushed for 942 yards and 5 touchdowns. That was 4,408 total yards, 35 touchdowns altogether, which those numbers that he did will be considered like, okay, well, he should have been at the very least offensive player of the year. Joe Montana would actually get the MVP that year after going 14-1, throwing for 3,944 yards and 26 touchdowns. That's something right there. He didn't play on the offensive juggernaut team like that of the 49ers and whatnot. We all know who was on his team and whatnot, whether it was a Brett Jones, whether it was the great Jerry Rice, whether you had Roger Craig, Tom Rathman, and all those great guys on that team. And then, of course, the defense talks about whether it's the great Ronnie Lott, Keena Turner, and all them other guys and stuff like that, and that played on that particular team. Although I will say this, and I was thinking about this earlier, Randall Cunnigham played on teams that had Super Bowl defenses. The only thing that messed up Randall Cunnigham, a couple of different things that messed up Randall Cunnigham in his quest for being that of a great quarterback, was the fact that those other teams, especially the Niners, had great coaching. He was stuck with a defensive mind guy dealing with Buddy Ryan, a worthless coach as a Rich Kotite, whatever his fucking name is, and whatnot. I think Philly fans all agree with me on that one there, and everything. He was getting ready after that 1990 season, and going into the 91 season. He had, I think he may have made the. I don't know if he made the Pro Bowl and stuff like that. He was right in the running of the MVP and Offensive Player of the Year. Warren Moon would get that the Offensive Player of the Year award, going 8-7, throwing for almost 4,700 yards, 33 touchdowns, and the team would go 8-7 and make the playoffs in the wild card to get bounced in the first round, much like the same thing that happened with that of Randall Cunnigham. Which Moon actually was the first African American quarterback to be at a quarterback position to make Offensive Player of the Year. Okay. And I'll come back to that a little bit later as well. But that's who he was up against. I mean, you had your Marinos, you had your Elways, you had your Aikmans, you had your Kellys, you had all of them type of guys, even Boomer Esiason to an extent. You had those upper echelon quarterbacks and whatnot, and them guys is winning and stuff like that. And later on, of course, obviously, you had Steve Young. So it was hard sledding for them, but they had a Super Bowl defense, just not no coaching, and nobody really draw up plays for them and whatnot as far as that went there. If you look at Randall's stats, like I said, he went in those years from 87 to 92. He would go 55-27. It's one win that I'm not putting on there because he ended up getting hurt against Green Bay, against Bryce Pop ended up messing him up. Outside line, but pretty good outside linebacker for that of the for the Green Bay Packers, messed his leg up and stuff like that, staying in the pocket because Rich Kotex wanted him to stay in the pocket. So he stayed in the pocket. And he got hurt. Like he said, I never got hurt running out of the pocket, but I got hurt staying in the pocket. You know how that goes there. After that, for the most part, and the next year we go 4-0, get hurt. 7-7, 500, and then go 1-3. His career kind of went down. Then he didn't play in 96. Came back at age 34 at 97. Starts 3 games, goes 1-2. Had that masterful year but with his reincarnation, if you will, would be that of a 13-1 Minnesota team that should have won the Super Bowl. But Randall, not being Randall, if you go back to that game, it was a couple of times, especially the crucial time in that game, they should have iced that game. But Anderson, that's another story. They should have actually won that game. He had an opportunity to sit up there and run and chunk up yards, to get a first down, and he decided not to run it through an incomplete pass. There's a couple of times like that in the game where he didn't resort back to being Randall. He was just, I'm just a pocket passer now. And that was unfortunate. That ended up hurting him. So you're looking at 12 wins, 10 losses, and then he didn't play in 96. So that's, let me see here. So you're looking at 1, 2, and other got hurt. Count that or whatever like that. Out. He didn't play football. He literally didn't play really good football or any football for 1, 2, 3, for 4 years. 4 years. After going to different Pro Bowls and being all-pro second team and all these other different things that he accounted for a couple of so times and whatnot. By the time he comes back that in 98, of course, that Vikings team that should have went to the Super Bowl, like I just discussed and talked about earlier, that whole thing there. Once he went 13-1 or they went 15-1 and would end up losing to the Falcons because they would have gave Denver all they needed to guarantee that. Was definitely rooting for him and whatnot, and that didn't happen. After that 13-1 season, no more 10 starts. 2-4, 1-2, 2-0. So you're looking at, let's look at it this here. You're looking at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. You're looking at about 8 years, and 1 year he didn't even play. So 7 years, he didn't do anything. Now, you're getting close to almost a decade of not really playing football or even having 10 or more starts, with the exception of the 1994 season at age 31 when they went 7-7. And he threw for 3,229 yards, 16 touchdowns. And I think he may have rushed for, see, let's go back up here again. There's 94. Past it. 94. And the stats. Yeah, okay, 94. Rushed for only 288 yards. If you look at his rushing yards for age 22, 540, 505, 624, 621, 942, and then 549. By age 29, that was it. That particular part of his game was gone. You didn't see that anymore. And then when he came back there in 98, you didn't see it at all. Okay? So these are the things. This is why Randall Cunnigham, in my opinion, will not be in the Hall of Fame, should not be in the Hall of Fame and whatnot. Yes, he finished with an 82 and 52-1 record, 56% passing completion ratio. Exciting moments. Great guy to sit up there and see play, but didn't get it done. If he had won a Super Bowl, that would have closed the gap on the years that he didn't play, and probably would have made him a third ballot Hall of Famer. However, that did not happen. So Philadelphia Eagle fans, I would like to tell you, no, that's not going to happen. And I'll also do one on Donovan McNabb as well. So that's why. But as far as him being the ultimate weapon, as they sit up there and portrayed him on the 91 season when he was on front of Sports Illustrated, he was just that. He's doing things that then you have a Lamar Jackson would come along doing it almost close to 30 years later. And almost 30 years later. So, and Lamar Jackson has rushed for 1,000 yards a couple of so times and have thrown for over 3,000 yards and has been an MVP twice and whatnot. Now, Randall Cunnigham did not get a first-team All-Pro now, which he should have gotten. He should have possibly have gotten a, let's look it up, as we on it. That season, that particular season, 98 season, Yeah, you had Terrell Davis, who had a monstrous year, and Offensive Player of the Year. Terrell Davis won them both. They could have actually gave him a little bit because they went 13-1 or something like that, 13-1 or 14-1 or whatever it was. He went there, put up some astronomical numbers and whatnot for him. He put up some great numbers and should have gave him that, but they gave it to Terrell Davis and whatnot and everything. Randall went 3,704. He threw for 34 touchdowns, only 10 picks and whatnot. So that's what he did, but he never got that. Okay, couple of different outlets and whatnot sit up there, put him down as an Offensive Player of the Year, MVP and stuff like that. All-Pro second team a couple of times, as well as All-Pro first team in 1998, the best quarterback in the league at that time, which he absolutely deserved. But because of what happened, almost missing damn near 8 years of not missing, but not full potential, not the Randall Cunnigham that we were grown to love and whatnot and enjoy watching from 87 to at least 1992. In those years with the Eagles where he would go 55-27 and garner up 3 Pro Bowls and whatnot and a couple second team all pro teams. So that's why he will not be properly considered for the Hall of Fame, because of the missing years. And he could have possibly finished off after the 13th one. Maybe he could do something the next 4 years. No, 2-4, 1-2, 2-0, and he finished up the last 2 years in Dallas, where Dallas just sucked back during that time. And that's why. So we don't want to play homer ball with everybody and stuff like that and say, oh, give it to him because of this and give it to him because of that. No, not going to do that. But what he did do, and that season, that magical season of 1990, when he kind of put it all together, and he's like, okay, I got this. I'm going to be doing this from then on. I got the passing down, even though he was on some sorry coach teams, with the yards that he put up and whatnot, with the yards and everything that he put up at that particular time and everything. So it's just like, hey, man, it's just like he did it. So he ushered in quarterbacks. That would not happen again until around 2015 when the when you had Cam Newton, when you would have Cam Newton and whatnot do the things that he did back in 2015, going to a Super Bowl and whatnot. Going to a Super Bowl, which is winning an NFC Championship game, and what he did with 3,837 yards passing, 35 touchdowns to only 10 picks, and then the rushing aspect of it at that time, 636 yards. You look at Cam, 706, 741, 585, 539, 636, 359. Only 359, 754, and almost 500 with Carolina. And his second stint, got a second stint, but he was still there. Then it comes back with New England and goes 592. We're still putting up almost close to 3,000 yards passing. And Cam was the first. Now, Warren Moon was the first African-American quarterback that won the Offensive Player of the Year at the quarterback position. Cam Newton is the first African-American quarterback to win the MVP, I think actually to win an MVP, period, as well as winning the MVP as well as Offensive Player of the Year. Patrick Mahomes to come back. Patrick Mahomes, I say that. Let me back up. Mahomes actually did that first. Let me get that right. Let's get that right. So, yeah, Mahomes would actually, was the first African-American quarterback to be MVP as well as the offensive player. And he pulled the trifecta between being the first team All-Pro, MVP of the league, and AP and Offensive Player of the Year. Also, I think he also pulled off the trifecta, quadtrifecta, whatever you want to call it, when he actually won the MVP in the Super Bowl and whatnot. That Offensive Player of the Year award and MVP, right? So he did that. I want to say maybe he only just did it once, but he did it where he's the first player did. And then Lamar Jackson would do it the next year and whatnot. Lamar Jackson's always been MVP, never won the Offensive Player of the Year and whatnot. And all that. So you're looking at these quarterbacks because they are a hybrid of that of Randall Cunnigham and what he did and what he brought to the game, and they wasn't ready for that. It's just unfortunate that when Randall did that, he did that, I think when we say age 26 or age 27, when he actually did that in 1990 and pulled off age of 1990. That's when it was like they took notice. That's why they say he's the ultimate weapon. But then he gets hurt in the game against Green Bay. And then his whole career just, not saying that it went down the tubes, everything just wasn't the same because he was not surrounded around a bunch of great players. He had some decent players on the team, not much of a running game, and for sure he didn't have no coaching around him. And he ended up giving this hybrid, and he's kind of like the godfather of this. Of guys putting up 3,000 yards and rushing for like 500 yards kind of on the regular. Even on the low, guys like Russell Wilson has done that, but people they tend to not want to talk about that because it's not glamorous and whatnot, or the shifty type of work, or the power of a Cam Newton, or the shiftiness and the speed of that of a Lamar Jackson, or the straight out blazing Michael Jordan-esque, if you will, with that of Michael Vick. So these guys did this. So it's like, so he ushered in the ultimate weapon. He ushered in the ultimate weapon. and he did a lot of great things. But you still it's still a numbers game at the end of the day. Still a numbers game at the end of the day. And unfortunately for him, he had 6 or 7 years where he just was not. 1 year he didn't play. A couple of other years he just didn't go down. He was injured, hurt, in about 6 or 7, 8 years or so. With Randall Cunnigham, like I brought it up before, of going from with a minimum of 10 starts at 31 and 94, nothing. Then he didn't play in 96. It was really no more 10. So after the 94 and the 98 season was the last time. 98 season was the last time he started over 10 games. Before then, he hadn't started over 10 games since 1992. So and he was 7-7 in 1994, 7-7 in a 15, 16 game schedule. Probably missed 2 games or whatever. He goes 7-7. He only goes 1-3. Only starts a few games, but it just didn't happen. So when you start looking at that, when he started being the man, which was in 87 at age 24. So from there to that time, we can skip here and there, but y'all get the gist of what I'm saying. And then after going 13-1, and then for 3 years, he only started 6, 9, 10, 11. In 3 years, he's only started 11 games. In 3 years. So he didn't even have a minimum of 10 starts. That's why he's not, in my opinion, a Hall of Famer. You have to finish off, or you have to put in the same 3 years he put in 87, for 88, 87, 88, 89, 90, those 4 years. He needed to put in another 4 like that and got past and at least get to some NFC championship games. But he finally got to that, but that didn't happen in 98 at the age of 35. That's why he's not in there, but a great player, a fun player to watch, and he ushered in these guys that you see today. So he is the Godfather. If you're going to put him in for Godfatherness, that's fine. However, I doubt if you do that because it's 6 or 7 missing years. You have to play, and you have to produce. And unfortunately for Cunningham in Philly at the time, it just didn't go down that way. It just did not go down that way. Okay? So that's why. And all those other guys, whether it was Cam Newton, whether it was Patrick Mahomes, whether it was Lamar Jackson and whatnot, those guys, for the most part, and they don't want to say that Patrick Mahomes is a dual threat quarterback. You saw that run that he made there against the Niners there the other day. But he did that in that memorable playoff run back in 2019. Y'all remember that, right? So Patrick Mahomes, like I said, following the kids since White House days. Mahomes could be that dual threat quarterback. He doesn't have to be. But when he needs to bring that to the game, he is electrifying because he has the moves, he has the shifting ability and whatnot to make plays, and he's tough as nails. So he has the ability to do that. Not an outright like them other guys, but he can actually do that. If you take a look at his years of what he's done phenomenal when he needs to run the football. But in that offense, he doesn't have to. He scrambles to get away, but when he decides to run, if there's nothing else going on there, it's no throwing the ball in the dirt. I will use my God-given ability and my talents to do what I need to do. That's why he's great. Unfortunately for Randall Cunnigham, it just didn't happen that way, and that's unfortunate for him. So no, I don't feel like because missing years, which means missing time playing, affected him. Thus, is the reason why I would not put Randall Cunnigham in the Hall of Fame, because he just went through a phase where he went to 6 or 7 years where he didn't play and he was hurt. He just didn't play 6, 7, 8, almost 8 years. I'm gonna go back and just check it out just for the hell of it before we end it. But you look at that. 99, 2000, 2001, nothing. Nothing. Didn't play in 96. His last 10 game season, aside from that of 98, he went 7-7. Didn't make the playoffs or any of that. Those writers, that's what they're going to look at. So you still got to put up numbers. But great talent, was the original Ultimate Weapon. And much respect to him and whatnot. Just not enough time, too many years of not starting and not effective football at that particular position. Okay? Guys, I'll probably come back. Probably end up doing something on Randall Cunnigham and why he probably is not going to be in the Hall of Fame. It's a little bit more daunting of a task because he was really good. But too many games that was lost, too many NFC Championship games that was lost. If he wins a Super Bowl, it's probably not even a question about that. But y'all, like I tell you guys all the time, numbers don't lie and get emotional. People do. There is no greatest of all time as long as time is still going on. I'll come back and holler at you guys later. Yeah, have a good one.